This recording of Leo Babauta's blog is brought to you by Zen Habits Radio. Go to zenhabitsradio.com for a complete list of recordings. 36 Lessons I've Learned About Habits by Leo Babauta. Lessons 19 through 36. 19. The habit is the reward. It's not a chore. Adding external rewards can be a useful way to have good feedback for doing the habit, but the best possible reward is internal. The reward is doing the habit. Then you get the reward immediately, not later. For example, if you think exercise sucks, you're getting bad feedback as you do the habit. You won't stick to it for long. But if you can find ways to enjoy the exercise, do it with a friend, see the enjoyable aspects of exercise, play a sport that you love, go on a hike with awesome views, etc., then you're getting positive feedback as you do the habit. Change your thinking. The habit is lovely, a reward in and of itself, a way to care for yourself. Do not think of it as a chore you need to get done or you'll avoid it. 20. Lots of habits at once means you'll probably fail. Go ahead and try an experiment. Do 5 new habits at once. See how many you're successful with. Then try one habit only and see how long you can stick to that. In my experiments, one habit is much more successful than 2 at a time, and exponentially more successful than 5 to 10 habits at once. 21. Recognize when you're getting distracted. In the beginning, we can get very focused on a new habit and have lots of energy to put into it. But other things can come up and we might find a new shiny toy to get excited about. And soon the old habit change is falling to the wayside. This has happened to me many times. Now, I'm not saying a habit needs to take up all of your mind space and free time. That's not healthy either. But you should be able to focus on it for a small amount of time each day and still enjoy it and look forward to it. If that's falling away, re-examine your motivation and priorities and either drop the habit or refocus. 22. A blog is an amazing tool. As I said, accountability makes a huge difference in your habits feedback loop. Blogging is a great way to get accountability, and as you're sharing what you've been doing and what you're learning, you are forced to reflect on your habit, which makes what you learn about the habit and yourself a much deeper experience. 23. Failure is a learning tool. You will fail in your habit attempts, that's a given, but instead of seeing it as a failure of you as a person, it's not. See it as a way to learn about yourself and habit change. Each person is different. What works for me won't necessarily work for you, and you won't know until you try it and fail. When you fail, you learn something new, and that helps you get better. 24. How you deal with failure is a key. When many people fail, they feel bad about themselves and give up. This is why they have such a hard time changing habits. If instead they got back up and tried again, perhaps with an adjustment to their method, some new accountability, for example, they'd obviously have a much higher chance of success. The people who succeed at habits aren't people who never fail. They're people who keep going after they fail. 25. Adjust or die. On a related note, habit change is about learning to adjust. New job? That will change things, so you'll need to adjust your habit. Missed a few days? Figure out what's going wrong and adjust. Habit isn't enjoyable? Find a new way to make it enjoyable. Self-talk sabotaging your habit change? Focus on becoming aware of your self-talk so you can solve that problem. Adjust, adjust, adjust. 26. Enlist support. Who will you turn to when things get hard? When you need encouragement? When you fail? Have a support buddy. I had one when I was quitting smoking, and I've used it other times as well. If you start without support and fail, that's okay. Adjust by finding someone to help you. That might be your spouse or best friend or parent or sibling or coworker. Or maybe you find a support group online. It makes a big difference. 27. You limit yourself. Lots of times I suggest people give up something like cheese or sugar or beer, at least for a little while. They respond, I could never give up my cheese or meat or sweets, etc. Well, that's true if you believe it. However, I've learned that we often think we can't do something when really we can. I recently talked to someone who was absolutely sure she couldn't give up baked goods. She limits herself with this belief. We all do to some extent. But if you can examine your beliefs and be willing to test them out, you'll often find out they're not true. 28. Set up your environment for success. If you're going to give up sweets, get rid of all the sweets in your house. Ask your spouse to support you by not making or buying sweets for a little while. Tell friends you're not eating sweets and ask them to support you. Yes, this can require others to make adjustments, but if you ask nicely for their help, often they'll be glad to support you. But the point is, find ways to create an environment where you're likely to succeed. Create accountability, reminders, support, a lack of temptations and distractions, etc. 29. Just lace up your shoes and get out the door. Reduce the barrier to starting the habit. If I need to go for a run, often I'll think about how hard it is, how long it will take, how cold it will be, etc., and I'll psych myself out and not do it. But when my rule is just lace up my shoes and get out the door, that's so easy it's hard to say no. That's my bar. As easy as possible. Once I'm out the door, I'm invariably glad I started and things go well. For meditating, just get your butt on the cushion. For writing, just open up your writing program and write a sentence. 30. Define your breaks. If you're going to be traveling and know that you can't stick to your habit, for example, set the dates of your habit break in advance rather than letting it slide and then thinking that you failed. And have the date when you're going to get back on track and set a reminder so you don't forget. This will keep a planned event from completely derailing your habit change. 31. Habits are situational. A habit is tied to a trigger, but really, the trigger is an environment. So if your trigger is your morning shower, that's great, but it's not the shower itself. The trigger is taking the shower in your home, getting out, seeing something in your bathroom that somehow triggers the impulse to go and meditate, or whatever your habit is. So if you take a shower in a different bathroom in your home or in a hotel, the trigger doesn't happen. The same is true if you got a phone call as you got out of the shower, or your wife comes and gives you a hug, both disrupting the trigger. Anyway, there's not much you can do with this info, as you can't control all the things in your environment. But being aware of subtle environmental changes that affect your habit can help you to understand what's going on. 32. Learn to cope in other ways. Often your bad habits are ways of coping with a real need, like needing to cope with stress or bad feelings about yourself or a fight with a loved one. The need to cope with these things won't go away, and so bad habits become a crutch. You can find other ways of coping that are healthier, so you don't need the crutch anymore. Read more. 33. Be kind to yourself. You will fail, and you can be hard on yourself and feel guilty and think that you're crap. That won't help at all. Being kind to yourself is a good habit skill, if you pair it with an adjustment that allows you to improve your habit method. To be kind to yourself, remind yourself of how hard it is to be happy, and that you're struggling to find happiness despite things that cause you stress and frustration and anger and irritation and disappointment. This is hard. Have empathy with yourself. Be understanding and compassionate. It will help you as you adjust and try again. 34. Perfect is the enemy. Often people strive for perfection, but this stands in the way of progress. Progress is much more important than perfection. If you find yourself not starting a habit because you want the perfect circumstances, or not meditating because you want the perfect time or space, or not writing because you want the perfect tool, or not being happy because you haven't been perfect with your habit, drop your expectations and just do the habit. 35. A workout partner works wonders. For exercise, the most effective method for me is to have a workout partner. That's true whether I'm going to the gym, taking a CrossFit or yoga class, going for a run or hike. When I don't have a workout partner, my frequency can often drop. This concept can be applied to any habit that you're struggling with. And finally, lesson 36. Habit changes are tools for self-learning. Habit changes aren't just ways to add a new thing to your life. They're tools for learning about yourself. Through habit change, you learn about what motivates you, about self-talk and rationalization, about urges, about internal versus external rewards, about weaknesses and kindness, about progress and empowerment. You can learn more about yourself through a few months of habit change than you have in the last decade. if you pay attention. And in that way, habit change is an extremely rewarding process, regardless of the outcome.